The 7th of November 2016, a big day for Montreal's Sainte-Justine Hospital. Ministers and dignitaries celebrate the opening of its brand new research center.
C'est donc pas uniquement des locaux, c'est aussi une nouvelle façon de faire, une nouvelle façon d'être.
The bright and modern building is in the west wing of the Children's Hospital. But in the east wing, a crisis is unfolding. For 5 days, inspectors have been seizing files, searching computers, and interrogating employees at the Carbonneau Pavilion, a facility reserved for children fighting cancer. The inspectors are from Health Canada. The federal agency has just received an anonymous complaint about DECGEN, a clinical drug trial for children with terminal cancer. The reputation of one of Canada's top pediatric hospitals is in jeopardy. By the time the inspectors arrive, the study is already in trouble. One child dropped out because of side effects, 4 others died, and the last of the 6 children will die while investigators are working. A few weeks later comes the sanction. Health Canada suspends the DECGEN clinical trial.
Health Canada feels it's not appropriate to continue Phase 1 of the study. Serious and unwelcome side effects and deaths occurred during the first dosage cycle. Furthermore, it has not been shown that a safe dose was used.
Health Canada documents 76 violations of the Food and Drugs Act, including 23 critical ones, violations that present a danger to the trial's subjects or undue risk to their rights, their health, and their safety.
C'est hyper grave. Et surtout quand on a le régulateur Santé Canada qui intervient et qui dit qu'il y a une longue liste de problèmes avec une étude, ça c'est majeur.
The list is very long. Serious side effects and a death that weren't reported to Health Canada, medical files that weren't updated, staff that wasn't adequately trained, and medicine that had expired.
It indicates a very poor oversight, very poor monitoring.
Jonathan Finley is head of the neuro-oncology department at the largest pediatric hospital in the United States. Was Health Canada right to close the study?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Absolutely. Because there were too many violations, and they were absolutely appropriate in shutting it down. It would have been wrong if they hadn't.
But suspending a clinical study is a very rare move. Health Canada has only done it 5 times since 2012. 5 times in 337 inspections. Bryn Williams-Jones is in charge of the bioethics program at Université de Montréal's Schools of Public Health.
Manque de documentation, de suivi, de déclaration, ça c'est problématique.
Ouais.
Ça parle d'un problème institutionnel dans l'unité qui est en train de faire la recherche.
Health Canada's assessment paints a portrait of a disorganized and incomplete drug trial in a world where precision, care, and respect of scientific norms are valued above all.
Dans des essais cliniques, surtout dans les essais cliniques, on suit la règle, chaque petit détail est documenté et suivi, l'équipe est formée pour le faire. C'est évident parce qu'on est dans une situation où quand quelque chose va mal, ça peut aller vraiment mal.
That's exactly what staff at the research center complained about in a letter to the hospital's Human Resources Department, sent 8 months before Health Canada's inspection.
They're asking us to ignore protocol and incidents that occurred during the DECGEN study that should be reported to Health Canada are not being reported. That raises the question of the hospital's responsibility.
Saint-Justine had high hopes for the study, which was billed as the first of its kind in the world. 12 patients to start with, then another 12 later from other hospitals. For the first time, Saint-Justine's oncology experts were to conceive and run their own clinical study, instead of one chosen by a large pharmaceutical company. A first in-house study and also a first suspension for a Saint-Justine research team.
C'est la première fois dans notre connaissance, en l'histoire de Sainte-Justine, où il y a un projet qui fait l'objet d'un avis de non-conformité. Donc c'est sûr que c'est une première pour nous, malheureusement.
The DECGEN study's goal was to look at the effects of combining a chemotherapy drug, decitabine, with genistein, a soy byproduct, a combination that researchers believed would give a hope for survival and recovery to young cancer patients. My femme and Toan Nguyen are both pharmacists and parents of 3 children, Liam, Eliane, and Lena, diagnosed with brain cancer at only 9 years old.
Tout s'est passé assez vite. Elle n'avait aucun symptôme jusqu'à, disons, environ 2 semaines avant que je l'ai amenée à l'hôpital. À l'hôpital, ben, ils m'ont fait attendre, puis après ça, après un scan, 1 heure après, le médecin a dit « il n'y a plus rien à faire, madame ». C'est 3 à 6 mois, puis c'est des soins palliatifs.
That's when Sainte-Justine told the family about the DECGEN study. Lena would be the first patient to sign on. Lena's parents knew their daughter wouldn't beat the cancer. Still, they agreed to take part.
On a aimé le concept de l'étude parce que ça ouvre une porte à un autre type de traitement, peut-être un traitement plus comme prometteur pour l'avenir.
Their work as pharmacists pushed them to ask the researchers more questions.
On a posé la question comment vous allez déterminer la dose pour Lena. Je me souviens que la réponse n'est pas très claire et concise.
But that question about the dose was very important, as you'll see later. Tuan and his wife both knew their daughter had little chance of survival. But like any parents,
nous espérons un miracle. C'est pour ça que je dis, de toute façon, on n'a plus rien à perdre.
The miracle didn't materialize. Lena dies of cancer 27 days after her first treatment.
Quand vous tombez avec votre fille dans le vide, puis là, vous espérez un remède, vous priez le ciel n'écoute pas, priez la terre n'écoute pas. Puis vous restez avec elle. Jusqu'à quand que ce qui devait arriver, est arrivé.
That was December 2nd, 2015. They left the hospital and didn't hear another word about DECGEN or its researchers.
Comment vous avez su que...
How did you find out the study was suspended by Health Canada?
Mais au fond, on n'est pas au courant.
Sainte-Justine never told you the study was halted. We were the ones to tell them. What Lena's parents also didn't know is that their daughter was given a dose of chemotherapy drug that had expired. A breach of protocol listed 3 times in Health Canada's report suspending the study. Lena's medical files also reveals another fact. The doctor responsible for the study ordered the infusion of medicine to continue, even though he knew the drug had expired before the drip was done.
C'est grave. C'est une étude de phase 1 pour la stabilité du médicament.
We spoke with an oncologist at Sainte-Justine who treated several of the young patients involved in the study. We agreed to have an actor recreate what the doctor told us because he was worried about the negative effects on his job.
Un médicament qui n'est pas stable, qui est périmé, ça peut faire des motons. Donc, on fait prendre des risques aux patients.
Dr. Michel Duval runs the hospital's hematology-oncology department. He doesn't see the problem.
Il s'agissait de quelques minutes de dépassement de l'heure de fin de perfusion.
If it's just a few minutes, you think that's acceptable?
Oui, je pense que quelques minutes de différence sur 24 heures ne font pas de différence dans l'efficacité ou la toxicité.
Lena didn't suffer any harmful side effects, but regardless, her parents know the scientific results of the study are in doubt.
Si on veut avoir des bons résultats pour les études, puis on n'est même pas capable de respecter le protocole à ce moment-là, le résultat final des études, je pense qu'on peut mettre des points d'interrogation là-dessus.
They're absolutely right because it calls into question the validity of any results, whether they be negative results or positive results.
La recherche est toujours nécessaire, mais de bien fait, les recherches, c'est beaucoup plus important.
November 23rd, 2016, 2 weeks after the suspension of the clinical study. In front of a crowd of doctors at Sainte-Justine Hospital, Dr. Éric Bitancourt explains what he wants to accomplish with DECGEN.
Le but de cette étude, c'est trouver la dose idéale et surtout non toxique. Et pour la deuxième partie de cette étude, de tester cette dose dans des patients avec leucémie.
What Dr. Bittencourt doesn't tell his colleagues is that his clinical trial has just been suspended. He says the study is ongoing.
C'est une étude qui est en cours dans la phase 1, donc j'espère d'ici 2 ans qu'on va avoir des résultats plus concrets.
How exactly did the DECGEN study end up at Sainte-Justine Hospital? The same 2 molecules were tested on mice in 2008, then on humans at Adult Hospital Notre-Dame in 2015. The team at Saint-Justine argued that the adult trial produced encouraging data. A surprising conclusion, according to one of the researchers at Notre-Dame, who agreed to speak with us anonymously.
I didn't find it a very efficient combination. If you look deeply, there were a few patients who saw some improvement, but clinically, it wasn't very interesting.
Based on the results of that adult trial, researchers submitted their protocol for the pediatric study to Health Canada. The protocol is like the Bible of a clinical study.
How would you characterize this protocol?
Poorly written, superficially written, and superficially documented in terms of the background. They could have done a much better job.
Even though he's critical of the lack of clear scientific reasoning in the protocol, researcher Jonathan Finley does believe the combination of desitivin and genistein was worth looking at.
Yeah, I thought the rationale was quite sound for that, the idea of looking at the 2 drugs together. Seemed like a cute idea.
What is the actual goal of an experimental cancer trial, what researchers call a phase 1 study?
Dans un phase 1, on essaie de comprendre est-ce que le médicament qu'on va tester est toxique. Le but, c'est pas de vérifier si ça marche. On ne promet pas un traitement. On ne peut pas. C'est pas un traitement, c'est une intervention expérimentale qui vise à développer des connaissances. La chance qu'il y ait un bénéfice est très, très faible.
That's not exactly what researchers say in a letter sent to the department's director.
The studies in Phase 1 can help the survival of participating patients in nearly 10% of cases.
10%, that's the percentage Sainte-Justine sticks with in the scientific publications the hospital provided to us. But that 10% leaves our experts puzzled, especially Jonathan Kimmelman. He's one of the world's leading experts on the ethics surrounding experimental cancer drug trials.
I don't know where they got that number. I've never seen numbers like that. I don't even know how you could quantify that because usually survival is not even measured in a way that's reliable in phase 1 studies. So that's certainly not consistent with the numbers that I've seen.
From what you know, that is untrue.
I have no basis for thinking that's true.
What happens when a researcher offers a clinical study to a desperate patient or their parents? What words are used? What hope is kindled? This family will pull back the curtain on the DECGEN study.
Jennifer, même si elle était inquiète, elle montrait qu'elle était encore positive, elle avait encore le courage, elle voulait sauver sa vie.
Oui, bien sûr.
Mais elle était nerveuse.
Nervous, likely because Jennifer knew what was to come. She'd already been through 5 rounds of chemo and a bone marrow transplant to treat 2 different forms of leukemia. When Montreal's Children's Hospital refers Jennifer to Sainte-Justine, her father, mother, brother, and sister go with her.
C'était comme vraiment les 5 qui travaillaient ensemble. Elle n'est pas seule dans la bataille.
As they do with all important medical consultations, the family records the doctor's presentation. It's much easier than taking notes.
We are the only center using that protocol now.
It's Dr. Yvan Sanson, one of the researchers who speaks to the family. It's a phase 1 clinical study, he says, several times. He should, in theory, present the study objectively. The primary goal is not to cure the patient. Did you know what a phase 1 study was? That it's experimental?
Peut-être on n'a pas compris vraiment c'est quoi une phase 1.
En tout cas, moi, j'ai pas eu l'impression qu'on était là pour cette phase 1. C'était pas clair. C'était pas ce que j'avais compris.
But there was one word that everyone understood, a word that captured the imagination of the whole family.
Rémission. Oui. En fait, pour nous, c'était ça, le mot qui, en fait, nous a convaincus d'aller dans cet essai clinique.
The aim at given those drugs would be to have a remission, and then they can do another bone marrow transplantation.
9 times. That's how many occasions the researcher says the word remission during the meeting.
If you are not into remission after the first cycle, we can give a second one or a third one. And as long as you need to be into remission, we can give up to 12 cycles of that treatment.
He mentions up to 12 rounds of chemo, even though the other patients could only endure 1 or 2. But Jennifer's family didn't know that, nor would they ever find out. All they could think about was the possibility of her cancer going into remission. Her brother, Michael.
It actually meant everything, because if there wasn't any chance of remission, I wouldn't have not advised her to go that route. There were other treatments, trials out there, and we would have gone with those other options.
Ethicist Bryn Williams-Jones looked over the full transcript of the discussion between the doctor and Jennifer's family. Why, he asks, would anyone keep bringing up the possibility of remission in an experimental trial?
It's loaded. Ouais. C'est un mot qui est plein de charges émotionnelles, dont on évite, surtout dans une situation où on sait que les gens sont émotionnellement vulnérables, d'utiliser un langage qui peut être manipulateur, un langage qui sort un espoir qui est irréaliste. Ça, c'est totalement injuste.
Elle voulait la vérité. Pendant toutes ces discussions avec tous les médecins à travers les années, elle disait, dis-moi c'est quoi mes chances, dis-moi ce que je dois savoir. Et il ne voulait pas être protégée.
The researcher does tell Jennifer it's unlikely she'll get better, and he suggests she takes a few days to think about it. That's what she says she wants to do.
We need to think about it.
But only a few minutes later...
We could do it today. We made a reservation with the anesthesiologist, but we need to do a lumbar puncture and bone marrow before we start the treatment. It can be done today.
Yeah, you already made the reservation. Yeah, you can, but she hasn't eaten since midnight.
Okay, but I can give you some IVs. You could take like 7-Up, jus de pomme.
Maybe it can be done this week, or you may wait until next week. It's not an emergency that...
I think I would rather wait.
On a déjà schedulé une intervention qui est le début de l'étude et ils n'ont pas encore signé le consentement, ils n'ont pas encore décidé s'ils veulent faire. No way. Ça, c'est inadmissible. Rien aurait dû être déclenché avant que la personne signe le consentement éclairé. Ça, c'est la pression indue. Il y a un méga problème.
Dr. Yvan Sanson refused to be interviewed for this report. Instead, the hospital offered up 4 people: the biochemist who helped run the study, 2 of his superiors, and the president of the hospital's ethics committee. We wanted their take on the possibility of remission.
Très certainement, moi j'avais vu les données de souris, et avec ces données-là, j'aurais très certainement, en discussion avec les patients, évoqué la possibilité d'une rémission, en disant qu'elle était faible, mais qu'elle n'était pas impossible.
Et comme parent, moi, si on me disait « votre enfant, il n'y a aucune chance de survie », je trouverais ça absolument immonde. Et pour moi, avoir...
Mais c'est vrai parfois.
C'est vrai, mais nous, notre réalité, notre mission, c'est de leur proposer des alternatives.
But according to Professor Williams-Jones, this is what a consent interview should look like.
We don't know if it helps, and even if it helps, we don't know if it's worth the side effects that you could potentially have from the Larabine. Nausea, tiredness, fever, decreased counts, and then less likely, fast heartbeats, blurred vision, pain in the eye, pain in the abdomen. The treatment will
In this PBS cancer documentary, a researcher lists in detail all of the side effects the child could experience in a proposed clinical trial.
As you can see, the list is long.
The parents' hope slowly fades.
C'est un bon exemple exactement comment bien le faire. Ils sont ouverts, ils sont à l'écoute, ils donnent le temps, ils ne mettent pas de pression.
This is probably the hardest decision along the way that you guys have to make.
A difficult decision for Jennifer, too. More than 3 weeks after the meeting with the Sainte-Justine researcher, she signs the consent form and becomes the 4th patient to join DECGEN. Jennifer really hesitated before she agreed to join the clinical trial. Her medical file shows just how much. She asked for more time twice, so worried about the effect of a 6th round of chemo would have on her. Finally, on May 26th, Jennifer gets her first dose of decitabine. She'd been tired and feverish for a full week before that, but her parents were still hopeful.
On pensait toujours qu'on va sortir du tunnel, que tout va aller bien. On l'avait fait déjà pendant plus de 6 ans. Il y a des médicaments, il y a des traitements.
If there's a chance, we'll take it.
Exact.
Je peux dire que la famille avait un espoir énorme dans cette étude. Pour la famille, Sainte-Justine était le bon Dieu qui allait trouver une solution.
A Saint-Justine oncologist who treated Jennifer several times agreed to speak to us anonymously. We asked an actor to repeat what he told us.
On était à la limite de l'acharnement thérapeutique. Elle avait un risque d'infection très élevé à cause de sa fièvre. Moi, je trouve qu'elle était trop faible pour être admise dans l'étude, même si, techniquement, les critères étaient respectés.
Jennifer is the first patient with leukemia to join the drug trial, and she also becomes the first to get a reduced dose. Why? Because the decitabine provoked too many side effects in the first 3 children, all of them with brain tumors. Researchers, though, had known for a while about issues with the drug's toxicity. That's because the adult patients who tried the drug first suffered serious effects. That trial used a dose of 120 milligrams. The first child patients received 3 times that amount, 360 milligrams. Oncologist Jonathan Finley doesn't get it.
No, because the background section was superficially and poorly put together.
You don't understand the scientific reasoning by reading the protocol.
They don't document the scientific reasoning.
Why triple the dose? According to pharmacology experts we consulted, the child patients should have received a similar dose to the one already documented as toxic in the adult trial, because the drug combination had never been tested on children.
Ce que plusieurs études ont démontré, c'est qu'il fallait augmenter la durée d'infusion de ces médicaments-là pour aller obtenir une efficacité thérapeutique.
As much as tripling the dose?
Oui.
The higher dose was approved by the hospital's scientific committee.
Donc, on savait que c'était une approche qui était sécuritaire avec éventuellement un potentiel de...
You weren't worried about the drug's toxicity? A confident no, when the same researchers admitted before the dose was too high in a letter to their boss.
We believe the dosage to use in the future should be less than the initial dose chosen, considering the high probability of drug toxicity.
Jennifer would only receive 1 dose of decitabine. Her condition deteriorated fast, and mid-June she's diagnosed with a fungal infection, possibly related to the drug. One of her doctors remembers it well.
L'infection était tellement sévère et incontrôlable que le champignon y circulait partout. Son infection était vraiment aux amygdales, à la base de la langue, donc ça lui bouchait les voies aériennes supérieures. Elle avait les voies respiratoires complètement bloquées.
Jennifer contracted a very rare fungal infection called geotrichum. But what's not rare at all is the risk that someone in her condition would develop a deadly infection, 39% according to the study protocol. When Dr. Sanson met Jennifer a few weeks earlier, he mentioned the high risk of infection, but did not give any details. Do you think knowing that would have changed your mind? Or hers?
À ce point-là, on aurait discuté avec Jen pour voir est-ce que c'est un risque trop haut pour procéder ou est-ce qu'on prend un autre chemin ou quoi? Il faut le dire, il faut le savoir parce que si on ne sait pas, après, on est en choc.
The shock hit them less than a month after Jennifer joined the drug trial. She died on June 23, 2016, of acute respiratory failure and complications from her cancer. Her family, who had been told she would receive the chemo drug for up to 12 months, was lost.
Nous, dans notre tête, c'était le premier mois, puis après ça, on peut décider des prochaines étapes. C'était un choc quand elle est partie. C'était comme un cauchemar.
Jennifer and her family had spent years raising money to fight cancer, $75,000 worth. They believed in cancer research. They still do.
J'espère que qu'est-ce qu'on a fait, qu'est-ce que Jennifer a fait, les 7 ans de traitement, ça va être utilisé pour du bon, pour avoir des meilleures informations pour le futur.
Mais il faut tenir en compte qu'il y a les humains, qu'on teste sur les humains.
Qu'est-ce qui est important, c'est qu'on ne veut pas être des cobayes, ou si on est des cobayes, qu'on le sache.
The end of September 2016. 3 months after Jennifer's death, 5-year-old Guillaume Darèche is about to become the next patient.
Qu'est-ce qu'on vous a dit?
What were you told about the previous patients?
Rien.
On ne nous a pas parlé que d'autres patients l'avaient vu avant. On nous a dit que c'était expérimental, mais on ne nous a jamais parlé des autres patients.
Guillaume's mother would have said yes to anything. Any study, any treatment, anything at all that could maybe save her son.
En tant que maman, mon cœur, oui, il aurait dit oui.
Even if there was 1% chance it would help?
Vas-y, on sait jamais. Jusqu'à la dernière minute, là, moi, j'y ai cru. C'est pareil. Je me dis qu'il y a toujours des revirements, des miracles, ça existe.
Les parents du petit Guillaume, il y avait tellement d'espoir. Ils me disaient, les médecins nous ont dit que ça allait l'améliorer et que ça irait beaucoup mieux après. Je m'en souviens, parce que moi, j'essayais de les préparer à la fin de vie. Et qu'à chaque fois, les médecins d'études arrivaient en disant « Non, ça va aller bien, là », etc., etc.
Your wife was enthusiastic. How were you feeling?
Ben moi, je disais oui pour elle parce qu'elle l'aurait pas fait.
You didn't want your son to be thought of as a...
Caméra de laboratoire. Je l'ai vu comme une petite souris blanche dans un aquarium.
Like each and every parent, Guillaume's mother and father signed the written consent form. It lists every step of the trial, the expected benefits, and the risks.
So far, it's incredibly evasive language.
That's only one of the issues ethicist Jonathan Kimmelman sees. In the 15-page document he evaluated for us, he finds it unbelievable that the consent form refers to a possible decline in the disease. Instead, the form should have said,
if you participate in the study, the prospects of cure or the prospects of extending your survival are very, very remote. However, by contributing, you may be helping to advance our understanding of your disease.
The consent form doesn't say anywhere that chances of surviving the cancer are extremely low. Guillaume's parents signed it on September 27, 2016.
Il était très faible.
Il n'était pas fort. Il
petites
jambes, rien.
Fais-tu bien marcher un petit peu, non? Hein?
À partir du mois de septembre, quand on est arrivé, pas bien longtemps après, il ne marchait plus. Ça prenait tout pour donner son bain.
Before DECGen, Guillaume had already gone through 6 rounds of chemo, all to control a leukemia that was beyond control.
Comment peut-on justifier qu'un patient dans cet état-là, qui ne peut même pas arrêter son traitement, ne serait-ce que quelques jours, puisse embarquer dans une étude comme ça? Si la leucémie est arrivée au point où elle est complètement incontrôlable, le patient ne devrait même pas rentrer dans l'étude.
The very day Guillaume joined the DECGen study, his kidneys weren't working well. It was so bad, his admission into the study was pushed back. Doctors once again gave him the green light on September 29th, but that day, another problem. His amylase levels, an enzyme that absorbs fat, were very high, higher than allowed in the study's protocol, but apparently not high enough to worry the doctor. Guillaume was admitted despite his lab results, a major mistake at the hands of the research team, says our expert.
It's in there as an on-study requirement that an amylase elevation is not permitted, and you have to abide by that. If it says something in there, we're not allowed to deviate.
And what does that mean?
The patient should not have been allowed on the study.
But Guillaume does join the study. He was the 6th and final patient. Guillaume's treatment lasted only 5 days. Like most of the other patients, he had to pull out of the trial early. Not only was his leukemia back, another threat was lurking in the ceiling tiles.
Un soir, je donne le bain à mon garçon, je suis en train de le laver. Puis à un moment donné, je me lève les yeux au plafond. Je suis tombé quasiment sans connaissance. Les tuiles au plafond, ils étaient toutes pleines de moisissures. Bien, c'est de la moisissure. C'était tout noir après les tuiles au plafond. J'ai sorti mon gars du bain, je l'ai séché tout. Puis là, j'étais au poste des infirmiers. Puis là, je leur ai demandé si c'était normal que dans une chambre d'enfant, qu'il n'y a pas de système immunitaire, qu'on a des tuiles qui sont pas saines.
Staff at the hospital seal off the bathroom door with tape and a towel and offer to move Guillaume to another room. But it's the only family-sized room available. They decide to stay. When you reported the mold in the ceiling, did they tell you had to leave the room because it was dangerous?
Il fallait que vous sortiez parce que c'était dangereux.
Si eux autres nous ont dit ça?
Yes.
Non.
Non, il n'y a pas personne qui nous ont dit que ça pourrait être dangereux pour Guillaume ou quelque chose, non.
That was October 7th. Then, on the 10th,
ça a commencé avec un petit point rouge juste sur le côté du visage.
Those little red spots turned to scabs and spread all over Guillaume's body.
De jour en jour, ça rampait, premièrement.
Ouais.
Il y avait mal partout, là. Il était vraiment sensible. Là.
Il souffrait de martyre. Les lésions cutanées étaient douloureuses. Ça lui rongeait la cloison nasale. Ça fait des trous dans les os. C'était horrible.
Fait que là, finalement, il y a un médecin qui est venu voir, le médecin Guillaume, Dr. Bitancourt, il est venu le voir, puis quand il regardait ça, il dit « J'espère que c'est pas ce que je pense, ça ressemble à l'infection champignon, mais il faut pas que ça soit ça. Je vous dis, faut pas que ça soit ça. »
But it was that, a very rare fungal infection, Fusarium.
Ça, c'est une culture d'un Fusarium. Il s'agit d'un champignon filamenteux.
Dr. Michel Laverdière spent 17 years running the infectious disease department at Maisonneuve-Rosemont Hospital. We asked him if this ceiling could have led to this infection.
Évidemment, la seule façon de le savoir, ça aurait été de prendre un prélèvement de ça et de le cultiver. Là, il aurait pu faire l'équation de cause à effet. Mais oui, c'est pas impossible que ce soit ça.
But the hospital did not analyze the ceiling tile, so we'll never know what was hiding up there. Wouldn't it have been logical to test the tile to find out exactly what it was?
Ça paraît logique comme ça quand vous l'exprimez comme ça, mais de fait, comme ce sont des infections qui sont transmises par l'air, on teste l'air.
Saint-Justine says its air analysis did not find any trace of the fungus.
Est-ce qu'on reconnaît quand même qu'il y avait une situation là qui était potentiellement dangereuse?
Do you admit the situation was potentially dangerous? Putting a very sick child in a room with brown ceiling tiles in the bathroom?
Dans la salle de bain.
À partir du moment où, quand on regarde dans l'air, on ne trouve pas de champignons, c'est pas juste une tache sur une tuile qui va nous faire décider que c'est dangereux.
In a room with a bathroom like this, there's a child with no immune system taking his bath right underneath.
Je ne peux que vous répéter que dans l'air de la chambre, il n'y avait pas de moisissure.
But Dr. Laverdière is crystal clear. A bathroom ceiling like that has no place in a children's hospital leukemia ward.
C'est sûr que c'est une situation qui est dangereuse. C'est une situation où l'individu en question qui se retrouve dans cet environnement-là peut aspirer ces spores-là, de la moisissure qui sont en suspension et développer des infections fulminantes, éventuellement même fatales. Il n'y a pas beaucoup plus vulnérable que tout patient leucémique sans globules blancs durant une chimiothérapie.
The infection devastated Guillaume's body, but until recently, his parents didn't know just how much. You ordered a copy of his medical file. What did it say?
Écoute, il y en a tellement. Écoute, il y a 5000 quelques pages, là. Mais j'ai tombé sur une feuille de certificat de décès, puis ça marquait comme la cause du décès, c'était le fusariose.
So it was the infection.
Fait que c'est vraiment ça, tu sais. Oui, mais j'avais jamais su vraiment c'était quoi, là.
They didn't tell you?
Nécessairement. Non, je l'ai vu dans le dossier médical.
C'est de la mousse partout?
It's been nearly 2 years since Guillaume passed away, and his parents are looking back.
Dans le fond, le refaire, peut-être que j'accepterais quand même. Parce que je me dis, tant que c'est pas fini, c'est pas fini. Puis je me dis, d'un coup, ça aurait été la clé du succès pour lui, tu sais. D'un coup, tu sais.
For her, it was a last chance to get her little Guillaume back, her pirouette, as she called him. But for his father, the DEC-GEN trial was a step too far.
Bien, ça confirme les doutes que j'avais. C'est quand tantôt je vous ai dit qu'il prenait quasiment mon gars pour un rat de laboratoire, mais vous avez la preuve, là. Terrible, le gaucher, c'est ça que je pense.
The DEC-GEN trial was suspended after Guillaume's death, but it didn't end there. For much of 2017, Sainte-Justine fought hard to get Health Canada to reverse the suspension. It's plain to see in the documents we obtained. In March, June, and November, Health Canada orders the researchers to explain their mistakes and change their methods.
Yeah, it seemed very strange. It seemed very strange, and I'm not familiar with the workings of Health Canada. You know, if this was an FDA-regulated, you know, site visit, they wouldn't have taken any of those, you know, back answers. You know, they would have just, you're closed down. I think they were being very patient.
Patient, indeed. 2 years after the inspection, Health Canada was still analyzing information sent in by experts the hospital hired. The agency now says cancer was the main reason for the patient's death and admits that side effects such as fungal infections were stated in the protocol. But one question remains: should the research team have reported the side effects? Health Canada says yes, because infections were much too common. The agency stands by its decision to suspend the clinical trial. Shouldn't you have informed the parents about what happened with DEC-GEN?
C'est une question qu'on s'est posée, comme notre interprétation des faits qu'on maintient toujours, c'est qu'on n'a pas mis en danger les enfants, qu'on n'a pas eu d'impact sur la survie. C'était pas nécessaire d'appeler les familles pour les tarabuster avec ça.
Who at the hospital neglected their oversight duties? Sainte-Justine's ethics committee is supposed to make sure drug trial patients are protected, but the committee wasn't even told about the problems with DEC-GEN at first. Once it did find out, the doctors in charge of the trial were the ones to explain away the questions.
Tous les experts, après échange avec l'équipe de recherche, en sont venus à la conclusion que la sécurité des enfants n'avait pas été mise en péril dans l'étude.
Okay. Contrary to what Health Canada found.
Exactement.
The best interests of the patients are paramount in a clinical trial, but so too is accurate research data. Making sure of that would normally fall to an external firm, but hiring one was too expensive for Sainte-Justine Hospital, since the study wasn't backed by a big pharmaceutical company. Who then was monitoring the data? A hospital employee, the actual manager of the drug trial. Unacceptable, according to researcher Jonathan Finley.
You need external monitoring. Clinical research has changed. It has become appropriately very, very much more rigorous than it ever was. So the question should be asked whether an institution that does not have the experience and expertise at conducting a phase 1 trial should be in the business of doing phase 1 trials unless they have built-in oversight.
The hospital says it would like to keep monitoring future drug trials internally, but not by a research team employee. As for the rest, the hospital feels misunderstood.
Je pense que Santé Canada avait une compréhension incomplète de certains aspects de l'essai clinique.
Il y a eu beaucoup d'incompréhension de la part de Santé Canada quant à l'essai clinique. C'était des questions d'ordre administratif.
Are you going to restart the DEC-GEN trial?
Je pense que ce serait dommage de priver les enfants du Québec de ce genre de thérapie innovante.
Est-ce que j'aurais mis mon fils dans cette étude? Je pense pas. Parce que le niveau des risques mentionnés, le manque de clarité de la science, le manque de potentiel bénéfice quelconque et le risque que mon enfant devenait plus malade, à mon avis, ça c'est pire que de l'aider à décéder avec toute la dignité possible.
Donc, so first, do no harm.
Exactement.